Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation which I've called Why I Flipped the Classroom. And it's really my personal story about how I started to work differently with my own teaching. My name is Jens Pedersen and I'm Associate Professor at Aalborg University. And on purpose I tried to make this really low key, so this is recorded on my MacBook using a relatively simple program called ScreenFlow, and my only aid is really this nice microphone, because my impression is that sound is really important. So how did it all start? Well, it's really a story about that when I started doing my PhD, I knew that I didn't want to do teaching. And then during my PhD, I became more curious about how people learn. I realized that learning does not necessarily happen in the classroom and in the auditorium during the lectures, but there are many other ways to learn which are really fun to play with and which can be extremely efficient, and which I think is also more rewarding as a teacher. Then I started to play around with international summer schools in Erasmus+. This is also what you see in the picture here. It's actually from the very first of these summer schools, where we brought together students from different countries. And later on, this has evolved to be more Erasmus Plus projects, where we're trying to give courses across different universities, and again to mix the physical world and the virtual world for learning. Another milestone in my own journey was actually that I took my PADI scuba diving certificate using the PADI e-learning program. And when I did that, it was a mix of videos, reading, and doing quizzes all the way through the e-learning program. And I thought that works really well for me. Maybe it would work well for my students as well. And then I also started to look into the literature and see that it was actually described. It was a well-known concept about how to do e-learning and about how to do the flipped classroom. So my own philosophy really started by first of all, it was triggered because I was surprised how little the students learned from my lectures and how little they would actually remember when we were talking about things afterwards. So I felt that the classroom teaching was maybe not a waste of time, but at least the way I did it wasn't very efficient. And I found that learning really would happen in other contexts, like discussions, problem solving in group rooms, where the students were much more active and took more part in the learning process than sleeping in the auditorium. So my idea was to take the lectures online, make them interactive with quizzes, and then use the results and the direct feedback to plan my time together with the students. I've called it lectures here, but in fact I would rather call it workshops. So the idea was to put all the one-way communication online, make it shorter, not 45-minute video, but maybe 5 minutes of videos and quizzes, 5 minutes, then quizzes, as I experienced in the PADI course. And I also felt that this is keeping the students active all the way, and they have to kind of reflect and react on their knowledge all the way through the lecture, the online part. I did a big deal out of aligning the learning objectives, the teaching and the exam. So I make sure that basically with the quizzes, I try to cover all the learning objectives. So when I have a lecture, or I've cut it down to lectures, then I see what are the learning objectives of these lectures. And then I make sure that all the quizzes I'm asking are actually covering these learning objectives. And it also means that if the students are able to answer and understand, not only answer, but also understand all the questions, then they have also learned what they should. And this has, of course, for me also been a journey of learning by doing and making lots of mistakes. For example, in the beginning, I made the very long videos, like 45 minutes, which are boring for the students and which are extremely hard to do as a lecturer. Talking for 45 minutes without anyone in the room is a tedious task, and it's hard to keep it interesting, I found at least. And then it's very hard to correct afterwards, because you basically have to redo the whole video. And if you redo the whole video, then you introduce other weaknesses. I also realized how important the sound quality is. That's why I bought this microphone, 500 crowns. And I think it's also important to make sure that the students understand the structure of the teaching you're doing and why they should, for example, prepare before the lectures. So it's very important to communicate with the students and have them on board. So the course design, and this is a very short version, a very short explanation, is that I've divided my course into lectures, but now each lecture consists really of, first of all, that the students are preparing themselves by watching videos and filling out a quiz for each video. So after each 5-10 minutes video, there is a short quiz, and the students get immediate feedback. I don't see it as a test, it's more a self-test, so there is no upper limit on the number of attempts the students can do it, there's no time limit, there's no control that they don't do it together. So the idea is really that the student can test, did I learn what I should from this video? And if not, they can go back and watch a video again. For questions, I try to, but it's not always successful, but I try to encourage the students to use the forums in Moodle so everyone can follow the discussions, because that's also an interesting place to learn. And then based on the results, usually I ask the students to have this prepared 2 days or 1.5 days before the lecture and put a firm deadline. And then I can go and see the results in Moodle, I can see the quizzes they did, and I can see the feedback from the students. And based on this, I would then prepare a workshop on selected topics. So I can focus on what is difficult for the students. And that means that the time I'm spending with the students is really much more valuable than me going through everything. And it's more fun for me, and I feel that the students learn a lot more. But I think actually we are very focused on how to do the e-stuff and e-learning and the virtual part. But I think there is a lot of considerations in how we then design the time that we have together with the students. And I'm not sure I found the complete recipe yet here. But I'm trying to conduct the workshops, which can take on different formats, so there can be mini lectures, discussions, group work, sometimes to keep everyone in the classroom, because we can switch between the different activities very fast, and sometimes they do more in the group rooms. It's also my experience actually that the students are not always so good in prepare by watching videos. They do it in the beginning, but then it tends to slip during the semester. But then the students are sitting in their group rooms, watching the videos, discussing with each other, doing the quizzes together. And I find that a lot of good learning actually can take place in that way, but it's just a different idea than what I designed my courses for. And over the years, I've also been developing a few pencasts based on demand, for example, demonstrating how to solve a specific problem. And then in addition to this structure that I presented, we also have some hands-on laboratory days, which I also find useful. So I definitely don't see this as a way to have less contact with my students. I see it as a way to have more meaningful contact with my students and to spend the time I have with the students in a more efficient way. So just a few observations. Videos can take a lot of time to make, but sometimes something quick and dirty works really well as well. And the video I'm making here is actually an example of something quick, because I don't do any editing. I'm doing everything in one recording, and it means that when I get feedback on this, I can go back and I can make a new one without having spent too much time on polishing details. Also, in the course I'm doing in communication and electronic systems, the basics do not change so fast. And that's important because I don't have to redo everything every year. So over the years, the library of exercises has kept on growing, and they are still relevant. And it means that basically the course is getting better and better and better because I'm able to add more and more quizzes and so on. But it's important to be aware that preparation still takes time. So at least in the way that I was used to do it, I would be well prepared for my lectures because I would go through my slides, revise my slides, and so on. But if I don't do that, and I come to the class now, I will get questions and I have to remember, and what was it I said in that video and what was written in that slide. So actually, I'm spending more time on preparation than initially anticipated. I would say the students are happy about it, but it's hard to make a firm and objective comparative study on how efficient it really is, especially because I've really tried to align the way I conduct the course and the way I conduct the exams. So the exam questions, which are still pen and paper, because I want to give students the ability to express and write down things and be more free in the explanations and what is possible in the current systems. But so it's very hard to really make a firm comparison. But one thing I can see is that when it comes to re-exams, the students tend now to be in two groups. They also spend a lot of time on preparing the re-examination, and they usually get good results, probably because they can access everything. So they can see the lectures, they can see the quizzes, they can test themselves, and there are a lot of old exam sets as well, which are available to go through. So they are really helped because they have access to more or less everything. So, but of course, and then students who don't look into it, they get bad results. So I can see a bigger spread between those who are doing really well and those who are not doing so well. And I found that quite interesting. And now it's time for a short demonstration of what I have done. So I will just show it in Moodle. The course is called Communication and Electronic Systems. There is a link to it on the next slide. It's a 5th semester Bachelor in Electronics and IT course, and I'm only responsible for 50% of the course. So that's 2.5 ECTS. And the rest is conducted as a classical course. I'm fully aware that the course is not perfect, and I keep on experimenting with adjustments. Maybe it's important to say that now I'm presenting only the virtual part. But as I said before, I really think that the design of the physical part, the time that we are spending together with our students, I'm spending together with my students, I think that is extremely important to design carefully. And maybe that's really the most important component in what we're doing. Whether it's taking place in the classroom, in the group rooms, or a mix of the places. This video here, as I said in the beginning, it was created using ScreenFlow, and I've done all the recording in one take just to show what you can actually do without editing. So before moving on to the demonstration, I will say thank you for your attention, and you can take a look at the course here by following the link, and you can see it in Moodle. Just subscribe and you can see how I have done it. So let's move on to the course in Moodle. Here is a course, Communication in Electronic Systems. Here is the networking part, which is my part. And in the beginning, I really have started here to list a lot of exam sets, exam trials, and so on, which I've made available online. And they are designed to be made available online. It's not only multiple choice quizzes. Actually, Moodle has quite a few options for making different kind of quizzes, but I've opted for questions which can give an immediate feedback. So one way of looking at it could be, let's take the networking part here. So here I have September 19. That was from last year. I'm listing the topic, the literature. I'm giving the students a deadline for online test and request for workshop topics. In this case, I put it on the day before at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the workshop takes place on September 19, and the deadline is September 18. I tell the students what is the expected workload. That's a habit which I always do. And then I redid all my videos to make them shorter. Initially, I had very long videos, but I've still kept a link for the long video in case anyone can use it. But otherwise, here's the networking part. If I go into the videos, I've put the slides here so they can access the slides in PDF format. I can go into here to see my new videos, and they are all on YouTube. And YouTube embeds nicely with Moodle, but I like to put it on YouTube simply because it works in all platforms. So they can use it from the phone, they can use it on a tablet, they can use it on all different OSs. So basically, first I watch the video. So hello everyone and welcome. Yeah, now I just paused it. It's a short one, like 3-4 minutes. I always try to keep it less than 10 minutes. Then for each video there is a quiz. There is a quiz here. I'm not just previewing it because I think I did some of it before. But here is what is called a matching question. So basically I have to select here. Now I'm just choosing some random values, so it might be completely wrong, it might be partly wrong. I said finish the attempt. This is what the student would do as well. Submit and finish. I submit. And then the student can get immediate feedback on what was correct and wrong. And coincidentally, I only made one mistake here. And then the students get the feedback, and I'm telling them what is the correct answer. And actually, I'm explaining the answers in all cases. Then for some of the questions, I've added an additional link where I've made a short video to show how you read the result. But this is the basic concept, is that videos, quizzes all the way through. And then also for the lecture as a whole, I also have a final test which is covering everything. And actually I'm not sure why it ended up here. But that is that they watch the videos, they do the quizzes. What more do I have? I have here a forum where the students can ask questions and I can comment. It wasn't really used last year. Not for this part, it was more used in some of the other lectures. And here is an example of a short pencast I made to explain some of the questions. And again, these are really ugly videos, but the good thing is that I could make them in just a few minutes, where the students were. So I recorded it on an iPad using my finger, and then I could just record it in one go. So basically, when the video takes 3 minutes, it also indicates that I spent 3 minutes on doing it. And it's not very beautiful, but according to the students, it was super practical. And basically, I was sitting, I think, that evening in a hotel, and I got an email from a student saying, please, could you show how this works? And I showed it on the iPad, and I uploaded it to YouTube, and they could see it straight away. And then I tried to put also additional material here, like slides from the on-demand lecture or from the workshop, exercises for the workshop, and so on. So I tried to put everything in Moodle. So that was a little bit about how the course is structured, and basically I do this so all the lectures are organized in the same way. So once again, I would like to thank you for your attention. If you have any feedback, please get back to me. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Happy to help you get going. Or if you have some requests, I'm happy to edit this video again at some point. So thank you very much for listening on.